So, good day, everyone. We're here for another episode of the DVD show. So, for today, we have a Gilas Pilipinas forward and also a forward of the Blackwater Bossing before, and now also with the NLEX Road Warriors in the PBA. Also, he was in the Limitless team in the PBA 3x3 before he played 5 on 5. So, I'll now welcome here on the DVD show Brandon Ganuelas-Rosser. Thank you for joining me here on the podcast.
Thank you, bro. You forgot one team. I was on Alab Pilipinas too on the
Oh,
ABL.
yeah, that was your first
I
team
always,
here in the PBA.
I always rep Alab. That was like one of the funnest teams I had. But I
Yeah.
appreciate the invite, and I'm glad to be on the show.
Yeah, for sure. We'll talk about your Alab stint later and all your other stints. But yeah, thank you. I'm really interested to learn more about your story and how you became one of the number one pick in the draft and yeah, being a
hmm
key cog in the PBA. But to start things off, I wanted to ask like now it's the PBA on tour, so everyone's like the stars or the main cogs of the team, most of them are on break and there's the other players getting run. And like yeah, I heard you also got injured during the Sea Games because of the flooring, and you're gonna miss the whole PBA on tour. So yeah, how's life for you on and off the court?
It's going good, man. I went to the Gilas stint after last conference, and I did that for a little bit, and then I was excited to come back and play on the tour. Like, it's always good to just get running. I was like, it's going to be a good way for me to just stay in shape for the whole year and stuff like that. But unfortunately, when I went to Cambodia, I was playing the games. My leg was already hurting a little bit, like at the end of last conference, and
Yeah.
it was like in my shin area. So I was like, man, like, I'm just gonna power through. Laban Laban, for the country. Gilas, it's redeem team, all that stuff. So I did that, and then we won the gold. So I was feeling good, but my left leg was still hurting a little bit. And then the day we landed back from Cambodia, Manila, I remember at the terminal I couldn't even like walk. I was like limping all the way back to like baggage claim and like to my car and
Mhm.
stuff. So the next day I went and got an X-ray, and then I got the results back, and they said, "Are you aware you've been playing with 3 stress fractures in your leg?" I was like,
No.
"Huh?" I was like, "I thought I just had shin splints." I was like,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
"No, you had stress fractures." So I had to take care of that, and that's pretty much the reason why I won't be playing on the PBA on tour. I just had it's an injury that doesn't require surgery, but it just requires just time off basically. So I'm not complaining too much, getting a little time off, but also I also want to play and work out. But lately I've just been just trying to get better. I last week I actually just started working out just a little bit, but my leg is getting better. My leg is pretty much healed now, so it's just ramping back up and just getting back in basketball shape. But ever since that it was coming off a long conference, and then the Gilas, and then that happened. So it was okay to actually kind of just take a break, because the PBA, especially basketball out here, it's a year-round thing. So I'm just relaxing right now, getting back in shape, and just recovering.
Yeah. What did you do like when you were recovering from the stress fracture? Were you just like lying down? You can't do like go in the court or weight room?
Yeah, literally, I just had to just sit down. Like basically, like you just have to just sit and ice your shins for like 4 or 5 weeks. So I just was at home. I couldn't even like go to practice. Excuse me. I had a walking boot. I think that's why some people thought I hurt my foot, because I had like a one of those like air cast on. But it
Yeah.
was just because I just couldn't, like, when I did walk, I had to like make sure that I wasn't putting too much stress on the shin. So I was just at home. Just a lot of time with my girlfriend, a lot of time with our puppy, our dog. So just relaxing, enjoying a little bit of downtime.
Oh, okay. How's the normal like timetable before recovery for that? Like, 4 to 5 weeks, or is it longer?
It's about 6 to 8 weeks. So I
Mm,
think right now I'm at like the 6 week, 6.5 week mark. So that's just to recover, like to heal up the bone, for it to like
mhm.
go back to normal. And I had 3 stress fractures, so it's I think it pretty much is healed now, but it's another like 5 to 6 to get back to just being able to like play and jump and be able to like do all the stuff I was doing before. So it's a pretty long, process. Like I remember when this first happened, I was looking like Cade Cunningham for the Pistons.
Mm.
Like he was out the whole season with this.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
think he like hurt his shin like the first month or second month of the
yeah,
season, and he was out for the rest of the year. So
yeah.
it just depends on like the severity of the fracture and stuff like that. So luckily mine weren't, too bad, and luckily like you said, like in Cambodia, playing on that floor, like nothing like really, really bad happened to where we had like a really bad situation on my hands. But I'm just thankful and blessed that I'm able to just require just resting and just staying off my leg.
Yeah, for sure. And like, yeah, I knew about Cade Cunningham's injury because I had him
Yeah,
on fantasy, and I lost track like really because he was one of my early
that's like a
picks.
starting
And
guard right there for your fantasy team right there. It's like
yeah,
that's
and I
your
didn't know
starting
who to replace him with. Like, you can't get anyone to replace him, and he was out. So yeah, that's
guy.
why I remember Cade Cunningham's injury. But yeah, going back to the stress fracture, did they ever say like how you get that injury? Is it more on wear and tear? Like, how do you get three stress fractures and you didn't like feel it that much in the first and second, like
Yeah,
tolerable pain, and then in the third, that's when you it wasn't that
yeah,
tolerable anymore, and you didn't
yeah.
know at all.
Yeah, I had no idea. It was so crazy when they said that because I knew like something was wrong. I was like, "What's
Mm-hmm.
going on?" I was like, "This doesn't feel like shin splints because it was on my left leg, so it would come and go." Like I think that was one of the reasons why I thought it was shin splints because I'll do a little bit of rehab, get like a release my calf or something like that, and it would go away. So I was like, "Okay, it's
Mm-hmm.
just shin splints. It's just running." At NLEX, when we play, like we're running, like our practices are
Yeah.
like this. I'm like, I think it's just we're running a lot, and it was a long season. And when I just went back, I was like, yeah, I got to make sure there's nothing bad.
Mm-hmm.
So I got bad news, but it was could have been worse, like I said. But I think it was just from just playing, man. Like coming off, like the 3x3. I played the two conferences that I did that C games, and then I did the PBA, like the All Filipino, then the rest of the season. So it was just a long grind. I think it just caught up to me at that time.
Yeah. Yeah, talking about that, I wanted to ask you that you mentioned that the tournaments or the games were there were barely any breaks if you wanted to join Gilas and wanted to join 3x3 5 and 5. And I had Simon and Cecil like a couple of episodes back only, and he was reiterating that he prefers a two conference format because he could go home to the state, spend time with his family, and then they would also be less susceptible to injuries and more time to rest. Like in the NBA, it's an 82 game season, but they have like a couple of months to actually like go on vacation and not touch a ball for I don't know a certain juncture of time. So for you, what's your opinion on that? Is it better to have like a PBA like three conferences and like you barely have any breaks, especially if you join the national team, or is it better to have like a longer break but like a more season style?
Yeah, I think I'd be in favor of like the longer time off, the two conference only, like something like
Mm-hmm.
that. Like like I think Simon was saying, like it's a grind, man. And like just making sure we take care of our bodies because at times during the conference, you're dragging a little bit, and it isn't. It might not seem like it because when you look at like a schedule, it's like, oh, you're only playing like 11 games. You're not playing that
Yeah.
much, but there's a lot of time in between. There's a lot of practices in between, and those add up a lot. Like making sure that you recover from practice is a big thing that I've learned in my first year here in the PBA. So I think that there is a happy medium. I think the two conferences would probably be the best. And we'll see next season because because of the World Cup and all that, we're gonna have the two conferences. I think it's commissioners and then all Filipino. So
Mm-hmm.
it'll be nice to see like how I feel like during that and after that, and maybe if we have some success and the games go well, and I think that's another thing that might come out of it. The level of play might increase too because, like I said, a lot of guys won't be as sore, won't be as tired. It's a little less games, but they mean more,
Yeah.
because you might be able to be like, we always got next conference, but we've only got two. Like, hey man, we only have two opportunities to get to the playoffs, two opportunities, to potentially, win a championship or make more money or whatever you're, playing
Mhm.
for. So, I think there's a happy medium, and I'm thankful. It's not my job to like think about, what to
Yeah.
do.
Yeah.
But I'm always happy to play too. At the end of the day, like I love basketball. It's been killing me. Just being here at home and not being able to like go to practice, like go to the gym, get shots up. Like, it's been killing me. So maybe I'm like in a weird place where I want to play more basketball right now, but also like long term, like yeah, maybe it's not the best.
Yeah, I get your point there. And yeah, you mentioned about having on a break now, and yeah, you won't play in the PBA on tour, so that's like your chance to get some reps in. And I think the next conference will start maybe September or October. So what's your
Hmm.
plan on how to be in tip top shape when you come into that conference and you're still like the same Brandon Rosser and you're still one of the best big men in the PBA? Since you know some players like when there's time off they can like strive away from basketball, do other things when they get in, and like you're gonna be like James Harden or like Luka Doncic in these other seasons where they took a few months before they got into their peak shape.
I think with me, I kind of used to be like that, like because there'd be so much basketball, and then when you have time off, like you just want to get away from the game. Like you literally don't even want to
Yeah.
pick up a basketball. Like you don't even want to go to the gym. But I think, that's something that like younger players, that's crazy me saying this right now, like younger players are able to
Yeah.
do, like their bodies and the things like that, like they can recover and bounce back quicker. Like I just celebrated my 29th birthday, so I'm like, man,
Happy
I'm
birthday.
almost in it there. Thank you, I appreciate it. I was
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
I'm almost 30, and I know some people say like 30, like 29, 30, like that's your prime, and I do feel good, like for sure, but I also know that like I don't have that luxury of just like okay, a month before the season, like I'll just pick up the ball and like start working
Mhm.
out. Like it has to be like little by little, like a LeBron approach, like all year, like making sure you're just in shape. And that's why I'm excited that I've been able to like heal up a little bit now to where I can get on the air bike or get on the assault bike and like get some cardio in like that, or you know little like weightlifting, maybe shooting like just a bunch of free throws and stuff like that. So I think every player has its own like system that works for them, and mine is kind of still evolving too because it's only been my first year in the PBA, so I don't really like know what works best. This is my first PBA 5-on-5 off season, so
Mhm.
we'll see how I feel going in, but I'm confident in myself. Just working on my game. I'm always trying to improve. I'm always trying to you know get better cardio because I know I have to play a lot of minutes. And also this offseason, I'm trying to focus on just maybe bulking up a little bit, just strengthening up a little bit.
Mhm.
First time I played junior, I was sore as hell, and then the next morning, so
Yeah.
just doing so like being able to like, I know what I'm getting myself into more now. So just putting the game plan together to make sure that I come back next season, tip top shape and a little bit better.
Yeah, for sure. And everyone's excited to see you. And I've watched a lot of NLEX games with Jonathan Simmons, especially, and you guys
Hmm.
were fantastic. So we're excited to see you back on the floor. And I think it was just injuries also, like in the last conference with Wayne Selden. Like he was also a good import, but then yeah, the injuries kind of
Yeah.
caught up. But then we'll see when everything's back to normal, everything's back healthy. But before going on to the Gilas conversation in the Sea Games, since people want to hear your stories about that few weeks you were there in Cambodia. Are you eligible to play for Gilas as a local, or are you not eligible? Like, because Matt Ganuelas, like your brother, he played
Yeah.
before for FIBA Asia, but you, I'm not sure if are you eligible. Like, pretend we wanted you in the World Cup pool, would you be eligible, or only as a naturalized?
Yeah, unfortunately, only as naturalized player. It's unfortunate, because I love representing the country and stuff like that. But my brother was born here in the Philippines. I was born in the States, so that's the only difference. So I wasn't able to secure my passport either. I got it when I was like 20, I think 21. You need to get it before you're 16. So just a couple of things just didn't happen on the right time, and so I'm not able to play for Gilas, but I told Trot and I told like all the bosses there like C games I'm always down to play, Asian games depending on the
Mhm.
rules, I'm always down to play. And you never know in the future. I know there's some rules and stuff like that FIBA's starting to loosen up on a little bit. So whenever an opportunity comes to put on the jersey, I'll always jump on it and I'll always take it. So, being able to get like that little taste, in the Sea Games, it was really cool. But hopefully one day, I could be, on that stage, that World Cup, maybe even Olympics one day stage.
Yeah, your brother had a passport since he was born here, so he got it before he was like
Yeah,
6.
yeah. So yeah, like even in the PBA, he's not even like considered like a Phil M player. Like he's not a Phil
Oh,
Foreign
okay.
player. He's considered a local, player.
Okay.
So yeah,
Yeah, there's some loopholes to the rules that even
yeah.
I
There's always
don't know why it's like that, but we just need to accept it sometimes. And
yeah.
I don't not sure why like what the rationale is. But yeah, going into the Sea Games, you mentioned that you've been privileged and honored to be part of the Gilas for like tournaments like Sea Games or Asian Games, wherein you'd be eligible to play as a. I mean, there's no local or like naturalized there. Like it just can be any. So how was that? Like, what was the call like for you when you got the opportunity to become in the pool, and then the pool started to getting cut down, and then you were finally be put in the final 12? What was that whole process for you practicing with them, getting chosen in the final lineup?
It was cool, man. I remember like right after our last game when we lost to Hanebra in the playoffs in the Governor's Cup.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, my brother messaged me. He's like, "Hey, Trot is asking if you'd be interested in, Sea Games and Gilas." And I
Mm-hmm.
was like, at the time I was like, man, we just lost. I'm tired. I just
Yeah.
played so much. I was like, you know what? Yeah, I'll play. I was like, let's do it. Let's do it. And then the pool came out too, so I was like, okay. I looked at it, and I saw a lot of like bigs. I was like, I'm pretty sure they'll probably use the Sea Games as like a tune-up for the World Cup.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, chances are slim, but hey,
Mm-hmm.
you never know what can happen. So
Yes.
I remember I showed up to practice, and it wasn't that many bigs there. I was like, okay, well, these guys just are playing in the playoffs still. You never know. And then more practice went on, more practice went on. I was like, okay, it looks like I'm probably going to be on the 12. So, it was really exciting to just, be a part of that process. And, I'm thankful and grateful to Chad and all his coaches and everybody that, they had me in mind. And, I think I showed myself pretty well, my first season, especially like towards the end. I think I finished pretty strong. So, I just carried that into the Gilas, stint and, the practices and the training camps we had at, Inspire and things like that. And, it was a really, cool experience to go and, play with some, of the best players in the PBA in the Philippines. It was a cool mix of like, young guys, like Jerome and Mike and Ben Phillips, like those guys, like, college still, Mason, then older guys, like, JB and
Mm-hmm.
Christian, and then like new guys like me, and so it was a good mix, and we gelled pretty well, and over practice, and I think one of the things that kind of helps the Philippines, like in things like this, is like we play each other so much, like during the season, and we see each other play so much that like when we're thrown together on the national team, it's like you kind of already know guys' strengths and like what they can
Mm-hmm.
do,
Yeah.
where they're gonna be, like where they like to get their shots and stuff like that, the game. So, I think that was an advantage that we had, and that's something that I played too. I watch a lot of games. I love watching just PBA games. Like I'll just have it on during the day and just watch, and just scouting and just seeing whatever. So, I was lucky that I just remembered a lot of that stuff and just contributed to us, going out there and just playing well and oh, sorry about that. But
No, no worries.
yeah, and yeah, it was really cool. It was really cool, and it was nice to come together as a team as well in that short amount of time because you know a lot of us weren't teammates. I think like Christian and JB, obviously they were teammates, but like
Mm-hmm.
other than that, I don't think anybody was really teammates on the team before. So it was a cool experience to be a part of, and just to be like selfless and just give yourself, to the team and play for the country. It was a cool experience. I had a little taste of that, for 3x3, but it was different because I was with Limitless, so we all already knew each other. But it was really cool. And when I got like that final, like for sure I was gonna be on the 12. I was like, okay, like this is real. And then that's when a little bit of like, oh man, we better like go and get this like we better
Yeah,
go do it. Like we better go and do this. So it was really cool. It was really fun too.
yeah. I'm curious to know, since you mentioned that you're, yeah, selfless and you were determined to make it to the final lineup despite the loss to Ginebra. You were pretty devastated, and then yeah, you weren't 100%, let's say, like physically, but it's your opportunity to play in the 5-5, and you were willing to do it with open arms. And let's just say some players wouldn't do that; they'd rather focus on having a vacation or others. So where did that stem from? That you're like love for the country, or maybe your determination to play with these guys, learn from them, and be a sponge from guys like, yeah, Justin Brownlee, Christian Stanhardinger. So yeah, where did, maybe you could tell like a story on why your mindset's like that?
I think maybe just a little bit of what we touched on before. Like I'm not eligible all the time. Like
Mm.
opportunities like this don't come around a lot for me. Like like I've like never. I honestly never even thought I'd be able to like ever represent Gilas. Like when I came over here, I was like, man, it's just like I don't think they'll like naturalize me over like Jordan Clarkson or something. You know what I mean? I was
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
it's just I never really thought an opportunity like that would come. So when it did, I was like, you know what, like just give yourself like, cause you never know. I literally know like even like when I said before, I saw like the first like 28-man pool. I saw like Jumar on there. I saw Japid and Boy. I was like, oh, they're gonna for sure just bring those guys because they have to get ready, for the big tournament. But as time went on, I just saw myself, just there, and I was like, you know what, like, just give it your all. And I think one thing that's helped me a lot is over time, my older brother Matt told me, like, I asked him stories about representing the country, and he said, the pressure is, it's a lot, but it's like good, like it's something that gives you drive, that gives you motivation because everybody's watching, like. He's all like, it's different from the PBA. Like, it's different from like just a regular Wednesday night game. Like,
Mm-hmm.
if you're playing on the national team, everybody in the country is gonna watch. Not just people in Manila, not just people, the whole country. So I was like, that's pretty cool. I want to feel that. I want to play under that. I want to perform under that. So, like I said, when that opportunity came, I was like, I'm just gonna give it my all, and whatever's asking me too. I've just always been that type of player. Like. I knew going in, I was like, okay, for this team, I'm not gonna have to like score a bunch or, play a bunch of minutes. I'm just gonna have to play my role and just do my best in my role. So that's just kind of what I did. That's what I focused on, and in practices, I just focused on just making sure the group was getting better and taking it very seriously and stuff like that. So, just culmination of a lot of things. Of me and like knowing the opportunities like this don't come around and being able to just perform for the country and give back. This is my way of serving the country's basketball. So it was just cool to go out and do that in Cambodia in the Sea Games.
Yeah, speaking of serving the country and yeah, having the privilege to be in the final 12, wanted to talk about the tournament. And you guys, I think you won your first games, and leading up to the
Mm-hmm.
Cambodia game, even I didn't know that they had around like 5 to 6 naturalized players, and the floor was like yeah, I don't know what to say, but it's like
I
terrible.
don't know, man.
And yeah, the training facility was like an outdoor court, like stuff I see on
Yeah.
Twitter. So, what was that experience like there in Cambodia? Like, what were many of the unusual things you experienced leading up to that Cambodia, the first Cambodia game, and how do you like adapt to those kinds of like adversities, as you could say? Because some of it you can't really do anything about it. So, how did
Yeah.
you guys stick as a group? And even if you lost that Cambodia game, it showed that you guys backed each other up even during the thing that happened in the end with Chris Ross,
Yeah.
with Coach Chod and everything. So yeah, what was everything leading up to that game?
Yeah. It was cool. Like I remember, like started off before we even left Manila. Like we had like one more practice the morning of like the day we were gonna leave to go.
Mm-hmm.
So we get there and like Chot like was stressing like, hey man, like our pool, like, we're probably gonna like just sweep the pool. So we gotta focus on like getting through like Indonesia or Thailand in the in the semis. So we're like, okay. And then like that morning we get to practice and then he's like, I think it was like Coach Josh or Chot came up to me, he's like, did you see Cambodia has 6 imports? I was like, what? I was like, I thought that was supposed to be one of our easier games. Because
Yeah,
I
yeah, yeah.
remember like Coach Tim was saying like when they played Cambodia when they hosted in what was that, like 2019 or 2018,
Yeah,
something like that.
19,
They
yeah,
beat them by like 60 or something like,
yeah,
or
yeah,
seven, and like they said like they
yeah,
had to like tell them to like stop scoring the ball.
yeah. They're
So
not
like,
known for basketball.
yeah, they're not known. And I remember like seeing them the year before, the 3x3 players. I was like,
Mm-hmm.
I looked at the photo when they showed like all the imports. I was like, yeah, I don't recognize any of those guys from here. So so it
Yeah.
started with that. We're like, okay, well, this is going to be a lot different than what we had mapped out. And then we got to Cambodia, and the first thing you notice is it was hot as hell, man. It was so freaking hot there. It was like 40 plus. Like it was scorching, and like the gym had like no aircon. Like the first day we went there for a shoot around, like I literally walk on the floor. I'm like, why is there a bubble, like a hump? I was like, why is
Mm-hmm.
there a hump in the at mid court? And I go and I look at it, and I literally pick up the court. I was like, oh my
Yeah.
gosh. I was like, what are we playing on? So it was just a lot of things like that. And fortunately, we didn't have to practice on that outdoor court. Like they
Yeah.
found a
Yeah.
gym for us, so that was fortunate enough. It still wasn't the best. I think it might have been like one of two like only basketball courts in all of Cambodia that we could like had available. So it was just stuff like that, but we just were telling ourselves like just control what we could control, deal with what we have to deal with, and just make sure that we keep the end game in mind, like winning the gold. So as the game started, I remember that first game we played against, I think it was Malaysia. Like I thought I was playing like in a sauna. It was like 12 o'clock, like noon. The sun was like beaming right through the ceiling. There's no aircon, no AC. And I remember like we warmed up, and it was like a 25-minute warm up. And then at the end of it, my jersey was like soaked.
Fourth
Like I jumped
quarter
in
already.
yeah, I was like, the game hasn't even started. I need to change my jersey already.
Yeah.
So, it was just stuff like the heat. So, we won. And then I remember, the Cambodia game was next, the pool play game versus Cambodia. So, we got there, and, we saw them, the night before, 2 nights before the day we played. And okay, they're a talented group, and but we could tell like they weren't really like familiar with each other. They were still getting used to playing with each other, so we kind of kept that in mind. But also like before that game, that's when Calvin got hurt, Aftana.
Mhm.
So we were kind of like, dang, like what do we do now? So like right before the game started, Chop was like, okay, Brandon, you're gonna start.
Mhm.
So that was the only game I started. But like the day before we had practice, and I wasn't with the starting group. I was like, what? I was
Oh,
like,
okay.
so I'm gonna start. So basically it kind of like I saw what he was doing because they had size. Like they had a lot of size. And so he wanted me, Christian, and JB to play with each other.
Mhm.
But like I said the day before, I wasn't practicing with them. So we got out there on the court, and we were just all unfamiliar with each other. Like JB had been practicing at the 4. Now he had to play the 3, and I was practicing as like the backup 5. Now I'm the
Mhm.
4, and now I'm starting. So, I think that kind of threw us off a little bit. And then it was crazy too because at night there, because there's games all day, so there's people in there all day. So the gym it's like literally like an oven, and it's just baking all day, all day. So at night you would think like the sun is down, it would be cooler.
No.
No, no way. It is freaking hotter in there at night, and it was packed because it's Cambodia.
Mhm.
So it's like people yelling, like literally the whole stands are full. The Filipinos, the Kabayans are in there going crazy too. So it was just like a mix of things that just like all meshed, and then we just, you kind of saw that performance, and it was so. I remember that was the hottest night of the whole tournament, and I remember like JB like watching him like run up and down the court. I was
He
like, he
won't
ain't
last.
got it, man. Yeah, I was like, he ain't got it. Like, I literally saw this guy like play with food poisoning, and he looked better than he did, that night. So I was like, yeah, he don't got it, and like he was missing shots, and like I never like seen JB like go over on his knees and stuff like that. So I was like, man, it's gonna be a tough task. And they kind of just they hit us in that first quarter. So I think it was like the second quarter, first quarter. They just hit us in the mouth, and we just we stumbled. They staggered us, and we weren't really able to come back. But I think like you said, that game did kind of make us come together, and it gave us another like rallying cause. Like beating Cambodia and their cocky ass coach that called a timeout with 10 seconds left when they're up by like 20.
Time.
Yeah, they're up, whatever, and they call
Yeah.
timeout. And it's crazy because he called the timeout, and it's like, okay, whatever. Like, it's your country, you can do whatever you want. But he called the timeout and like pointed to the crowd and was like, "Come on!" Like,
Antics. Yeah.
yeah, we're like, okay, and that's when it's like, it's not even like, that's
Yeah.
disrespectful. So
Mhm.
Chat lost it, C. Ross lost it, Coach
Yeah. Yeah.
Tim lost it. I never heard Coach Tim like that in my life. It was so crazy, but yeah, like I said, it gave us another cause. Like, okay, I remember after the game, like we were mad we lost. Like we thought we were gonna sweep it, but we're like, okay, like they done woke up a monster now. Like they done effed up. Like when we see them again, I was like, when we see them again, I'm like, we're gonna. It's not even gonna be a game. So
Yeah.
yeah, I know it was crazy looking back, and I think it was that heat, man, that Cambodian heat. I thought the Philippines was hot. I was like, man, it's crazy out here. So
Is that the first time you experienced playing conditions like that, even when you were in the States?
I mean, it's different because like in the States, they're hot gyms. Like I grew up in California. I grew up in like the
Mhm.
inland part of California, so it's pretty hot, but it's dry heat. It's just like you're just hot. But there, like in Cambodia and like places in the Philippines, like you're hot and you're sweaty and it's sticky and like it's muggy and it's musty. So it's just different. But that was my first experience like that, and I hope I never experience anything like that
Yeah.
ever again.
Yeah. Would you say the Sea Games format is different for this year? Because before, wasn't it like you play every country once and then whoever is the top seed in the standings wins it? But then now, like, there's still like semis and finals. Do you think that helped you guys
Yeah,
as well?
yeah, that actually did help us. That we were fortunate enough, and I remember Charles like if there's a game for us to lose, it was this game. Like we're allowed one f up, one slip up. So
Yeah.
you know, it was we were fortunate that it was that format this year, and I think it's better that way, like having like a playoff because like you never know like us like we were able to bounce back like you never know a team like they lose early in the tournament but like they get their legs together and they go on a run they can go and win the gold. So and I think that format is a little bit better than just like the round robin and then whoever has the best record is the winner.
Hmm. Yeah, but I'm curious to say, like you said, that it changed the tide after that loss. Like some people would say a loss is purely negative or mostly negative, but you'd say that it's a lot of positives because you guys didn't lose after. You guys were closer together because you guys were pretty pissed with what
Yeah.
Cambodia's coach did. But how about, yeah, on and off the court, like chemistry wise, maybe on and off the court, or even like scheme wise or place wise? Like what changed? What changed from your perspective from Gilas in the game, especially against Indonesia in the semis, and then against Cambodia in the finals that propelled you guys to the win? Because I think this Sea Games for you guys, it's like embedded already in your life, even if you win other championships, like it means
Yeah.
something else to you guys.
Yeah, it was. I remember it was like after we lost, we had like played Singapore
Mm-hmm.
the next game, and we're like, okay, like we're gonna blast them by like 50 or whatever, like just it was like like when you're angry and you just have to like break something or like
Mm-hmm.
some people like punch like they were like just like the glass we had to break real quick. Like we just
Yeah,
had
yeah,
to get Singapore out of the way, get our feelings out, and then we
yeah.
moved on to the Indonesia game. And I remember that night before the Indonesia game, we had practice at like I think we had it from like 9:30 p.m. to like midnight or almost midnight. Like Trout was like, we
Unusual
gotta get
time.
yeah.
Yeah,
Trout was like, we gotta get working. Like this is
yeah.
it. Like this is for real now. And it was like the hardest practice we had as a group the whole time we were together. Like going back to like when we were just getting like the pool together and the
Mm-hmm.
12 man together, and when we went to Inspire and had that training camp, and we were doing like 3 a days and 2 a days. Like that night before Indonesia was like the hardest practice we had. And like I remember Chat like got mad at us a couple of times. Like he was yelling, like raising his voice, and it's like, y'all want to win gold or what? Like this is it now. So I think it was like that moment where we were like, okay, like let's do this. Like that's when we kind of came together on the court and we were just running our stuff. We were super crisp on offense. Our defensive like intensity picked up a lot, and we just kind of just rode that wave, and that for sure was the moment where the tide turned for us, and we were like, okay, like I remember like the whole time Trout was saying we got to get back Indonesia because they were the year before. They was like the
Mm-hmm.
redemption was to beat Indonesia, and we thought we were going to see them in the championship. So we're like, all right, game on now. Like we got them in the semis, and we're like, okay, we got to go. So I remember just that night before the Indonesia game. That's when everything kind of just like the light bulb came on for us as a group, and we just kind of just took off from there.
Mm-hmm. Talking about this Gilas team, like this Gilas the team in Sea Games, there was year before
Hmm.
you Sea Games they got settled for silver, and then here it was a difficult road to get gold. And before, as you'd know, even if you weren't in Gilas, they would only send like the college players, and would still win all the games by blowouts or most of the games by blowouts. So would you say that Gilas would need to value like Sea Games more, like we're putting less importance to Sea Games, like with preparation and everything, or are our opponents getting stronger and being more formidable? So we need to take them more seriously, like how we play Korea or we play China and Japan, like those countries.
I think it's a little bit mix of both. Like I think you can take it serious for sure. Like how we did this last time. Like we had like a lot of pro guys. We had JB playing,
Mm-hmm.
but also I think like I remember Chad saying like he wants to kind of hopefully make Sea Games like a tournament for where like the younger guys and the newer Gilas players can go and like play against some quality competition because we play like some legit like imports and players and stuff like that. And I think it's kind of like how like I don't know if you saw like the Team USA roster for this upcoming World Cup.
Yeah,
Like it's a lot
I
of
did.
like young new guys.
Yes.
It's different. It's a lot different from the us in the US, but
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
kind of
yeah.
like the same thing. And like I'm mentioning, like they're sending their younger guys to like go to the World Cup and like get that experience and play, some big games because the games matter. Like the countries are like way more hungry. Like literally, I could tell from just a 1 year difference. Like from when I was there for 3x3, and I remember just seeing like the teams that were there for 5-on-5, but like just seeing like how much like better a team and a country can get in just 1 year. It's pretty remarkable. So I think it's a balance of sending guys out there that are like ready to play, like
Mhm.
they're pros already or like they're gonna be pros, and maybe mixing them in with an import or naturalized guy, but also not having to like always send the best because like you said, like we have like big aspirations. Like I know like the Olympics is like a big thing, like they're trying to
Of
qualify
course.
for, and they're
Yeah.
always trying to qualify for like the World Cup and stuff like that. So, it's just a mix, and I think it will always get better. Like the more opportunities guys get to play international competition, I think it just raises the level of play here at home. So it's pretty cool. I wonder how they're gonna approach it the next time. I'll be down to play again for sure. I might
For
be
sure.
I'm a little older, but it's always cool, to represent, like I said. So I'm wondering like how they're gonna approach it. But I know like they can't just send like just college, like a only college only team. Like
It'll be
that's
difficult. Yeah.
yeah, that'd be too difficult unless you send like a team like have they ever sent like just a college team like Ateneo? The whole team is gonna go play or like
That in Jones
LaSalle,
Cup, they did that.
Jones Cup. They did that.
Yeah, Ateneo
Yeah,
didn't
like
win though, but then they played against like US and something, but then they played well with Coach Tab.
yeah, like unless they do something like that to where a team
Mm-hmm.
doesn't have to like go through like a whole like training camp process, like trying to learn. It'd be pretty difficult to like send, but we'll see. We'll see how it goes because we are like the best team in Southeast Asia for basketball. So teams are always going to be like trying to get on our level, but we just can't be satisfied. And I think that's like the biggest thing. Like we just can't be satisfied with just being you know the top right now. Like we have to always strive. Like we're at the top, but we have to get better constantly.
Yeah. How about for the national team? Like, I'm pretty sure that yeah, you have like some great insights on how like the team could be developed for future Sea Games and tournaments. But curious for your opinion because as you know, like the Philippine national team, there's a lot of like stuff going on. Like ever since the World Cup appearance in 2014, where people like admired them a ton. Like this has been shaky. Like our coaches have been changing every couple of years. players are in and out of the pool, so we haven't been able to ascend like how we envisioned it to be during that, what, 10 years ago, 9 years ago. But
Hmm.
yeah, maybe I'm asking you if you have like any like brilliant ideas. Like, of course, we're not like empowered to actually have anything changed in the national team program, but maybe you have an idea on how like it could be sustainable, because others would say like Coach Tab had a sustainable approach when he had these guys like Dwight Ramos, Ange Kwame, like when they beat Korea, and then we had like an Olympic qualifying tournament and we almost beat Serbia, like that iteration, and then things happen that we don't want to talk about. But yeah, like, do you have any brilliant idea on how like a 5-year program could work and how Gilas could become a force, a consistent force in Asia or in the world?
Man, it's kind of tough. I don't know. I mean, I think one, like, it would have to be a lot of buy-in from the players.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know, I can't really like say like what motivates guys. I'm like, I
Mm-hmm.
know some guys play for, money, some guys play for family, some guys play for like pride and stuff like that. So, it would be like the best to like get players to like buy in and like come together. Like, and that's pretty tough because also a lot of guys now have left the country. Like a lot of the talent that are good enough to be in the Gilas pool, like they're gone, for most of the year
Yeah.
because they're not here. So that's pretty tough as well. But man, I think just having like a consistent, like just like not like training camp, but like just like a time period like throughout like the whole year where the team comes together and they work on whatever they have to work on, or they have like meetings and stuff like that to like make sure that they know what the goal is that they're gonna go for. And I think also it'll have to be like a buy-in from maybe the PBA and like the UAP, NCAA, like making sure that like players are available. Kind of like from what we said in the beginning, like the seasons here are long, so like a lot of people have to stay committed to like the teams that are paying them, the franchises that are paying them. So it's kind of tough in that, right? But like I said, I don't know, man. Like I just know like if I ever got called, I'd be down to play. I'd be willing to play. But I think also too like the coaching changes, it doesn't help. Um, I know Chat has like a pretty good like I think Chat has some good momentum going right now. I
Yeah.
think they're gaining some steam, heading into the World Cup. So that's good. That's positive. But I think like just constant leadership, uh, and just like a constant like figure, like the somebody that's like the constant like coach, head coach, basically like being there, having a voice, and just straighten it out. Like that'd be the best for the country because there's no way like the Philippines shouldn't be like top 20 in the world, like maybe even top 15 in the world. Like the talent we have, and I think like they have an opportunity right now too because there's a lot of the young guys that like went over, to like Korea and Japan. Like those guys are super young still, like Carl, Kai, and like a lot of the guards like SJ and like all like they're young. Renz, like Carl, like they're all young still. So like they can like come together and like really like fortify like a real unit. I think having maybe like a consistent like 16 to 20 guys like
Yeah.
it's hard too like when like the pool is shuffled like it's like you never know who's going to be in who's going to be out. So
Mm-hmm.
maybe just getting like a consistent like 16 to 20 so you can always play. So I mean that's what I would do, but it's difficult. There's a lot of like factors that go into it. So we'll see what happens, but whatever part I can play in, I know that I'll always be down.
Yeah, for sure. Everyone knows that. And yeah, I like your idea because before they had a 23 for 23 pool. Well, I think they only got like a couple of players from
Yeah,
that
I
pool.
remember seeing that.
Didn't
Yeah, it was
follow
like
that.
two guys or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, it did work out. I think 30 and Dwight were like two of the. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like we only got a couple of players from that, but I don't know. At least they're trying. I mean, I don't know. Like what we don't know what happens behind the scenes. You only see like what happens like in the media. So yeah, even in the World Cup rosters of USA, right, they had a tough time in 2019 when they lost, and you could see like the time when Kobe, LeBron, and Wade were like the catalysts. It's hard to
Yeah.
replicate the kind of like camaraderie and success that they had, even if they were from different teams. So yeah, it's difficult, especially if it's difficult for them. What more for us? So yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, let's just see about that. But yeah, for the next part of the episode, we can't leave this episode without asking about your journey, since people know about you playing in Alab, yeah, playing in PBA 3x3, 5-on-5, and in Gilas. But before that, you mentioned that you were born in the US. So I wanted to ask how your childhood and upbringing was. Like, was basketball the first love you had? Did you have other activities as a child? Like, what was your like normal day in your childhood like?
Oh man, I grew up in like Southern California, like born in San Diego. Then we moved to a city called Temecula, California. It's like an hour north of San
Okay.
Diego, and that's where we grew up. And my brother Matt had always played basketball. Like I remember for as long as I can remember, like going to all the Matt's games and stuff like that. And I liked basketball, like, but I just like I was kind of like a lazy kid. I was kind of
Mhm.
just a lazy kid. Like I didn't really want to like do much. Just like go home and like just do my own thing, stuff like that. So I kind of was like a late bloomer, kind of. I think I didn't play until I was like 10, maybe 11 is when I
Mhm.
started playing like basketball, like seriously. Like I always like just play like on our outdoor hoop. And I just tried to just replicate a lot of the things that Matt used to do. So I started kind of late. I started when I was 10, 11, and then I just from there just I fell in love with the game. And I played, middle school basketball in Temecula. I went to Temecula Valley High School. I was a 4-year starter on varsity there. And then after that, I played 2 seasons of junior college basketball at Central Arizona College, and I did pretty well there. I was like a, all state player, I think I was, or all conference, whatever they call it. And then I went from Central Arizona, and then I went to UC Riverside. It's a Division I school in Southern California as well. And I finished my last 2 years there. And I actually played against like Dwight. He was at Cal State Fullerton there.
Mm.
Kobe Paras. He was at
Yeah.
Cal State Northridge, I think. So it was a pretty good mix. I even played against Jamie, when he was at Portland
Malonzo.
State. So it was,
Yeah.
yeah, it was pretty cool. Like just seeing everybody just make their way out here, because you kind of know who the other Philams are, just from
Yeah.
like things like that. So you kind of like see them and you follow them a little bit. So it was cool like to go up against those guys in college, and then we all kind of made our way out here. So yeah, then after that, the college days, I just came out here and I made the jump and played for Alab.
Mm, yeah, playing for those multiple schools that you mentioned in the United States, I'm curious to know, like, among all those stints, like, people, it's known in the States that people, like, move schools, like, pretend here in the Philippines, like, if you're in Metro Manila, like, if you're in La Salle Ateneo, it's all, like, in the same area, but
Hmm.
then you played, like, in various schools, in grade school and high school. So among those schools, like, what do you remember most from your stints there? Like, when someone mentions like, oh, your high school, like what sticks out to you, whether it's some teammates you had, coaches, experiences, or memories that you had?
Oh man, I remember in college, high school, my senior year in high school, I was like, that's when I like started taking basketball really serious, and it kind of like I remember like playing like a lot. Like that's the most I ever played. Like I was playing like so much on the AAU circuit. That was huge back home. Playing on I think I played on the Adidas tour, so that was pretty cool. And high school was a good time. Like I said, I started on varsity for 4 years, and then going to college. I had to go to junior college. Like I said earlier, I was a lazy kid, so that laziness came into high school, and I didn't like take care of my academics. so I had to
Oh,
go
okay.
to, so I had
Yeah.
to go to community college, which
Yeah.
junior college basketball, man, it's no joke. Like some of the best players I ever played, against were at my junior college. Like I remember one time we were playing like some school from New Mexico.
Mm-hmm.
It was this skinny, lanky, like forward/3 that was out there just dunking everything. I was like, "Who is this guy?" They're like, "Oh, he's from Canada. His name is Chris Boucher." I'm like, "Who? What?" I played against Chris Boucher, and like I remember seeing him like years later. I'm like, "This dude's on the Raptors, like getting minutes.
Yeah.
Like it's crazy. Like you just never know. Like there's some of like the talent, like the best talent comes from junior college ranks. So I remember just the junior college grind was it was just different. It's very difficult. Like I left home and I went to Arizona. It's like it was about 6, 7 hours away from home,
Mm-hmm.
and it's super hot there. I was in the middle of the desert, just surrounded by dirt and cactus. So all you can do is just play basketball and go to class and things like that. So no, I think like my most memorable like part of my basketball career so far was those JUCO days for sure. Like those 2 years, like I said, I played against some of the best players and like some of the players that I played with that were on my team at Central Arizona. Like they're still some of my best friends to this day. That's pretty cool. And after that, I made my transition to UC Riverside, and that was really cool. Like it's crazy because a lot of like kids have a dream about like playing like in the NBA or doing like stuff like that. I was weird. Like my dream was to just play Division 1 college basketball. Like that was like my only like basketball dream I had. Like I always wanted to just play in March Madness. Like I always
Mm-hmm.
wanted to just have an opportunity to play there. But unfortunately that didn't happen. But I played for uh Riverside and we played in the Big West. So we played some big time schools. I got to play against like Michigan,
Mm-hmm.
UCLA when they had like Lonzo and all those
Yeah,
guys.
yeah.
So Cal and like USC and all those teams. So
Mm-hmm.
no,
Yeah.
it was pretty cool to live out my dream, like playing Division 1 basketball and things like that.
Yeah, so being able to play in like Arizona and playing against like Division 1 caliber players, like how did you connect that to like your Philippine roots and have the idea of playing here for Alab? Because yeah, that's not like connected. It's like you're in the other side of the world, and you
Yeah.
do have Filipino blood. Your brother was playing at that time here, maybe for TNT or I don't know what team, but
Mhm.
he played here also for Gila. So yeah, what was your mindset like when you were in the when you were in the US? Like, did you ever actually cross your mind to actually play here, or it only crossed your mind when someone told you? Like, yeah, what was the story behind that?
No, like you said, Matt was a big influence. Just seeing
Oh,
him and
okay.
yeah,
Yeah.
following his early career. Like I remember being in my dorm when I was in Arizona and watching his final series his rookie year when they played against Rain or Shine. That
Oh,
was
yeah, I
kind of
remember
like
that.
when I became like
Yeah,
a fan of the PBA. I was like, oh man,
yeah.
this is great. Like to this day, like Ronadell RDO, like he's like my idol. Like that dude, like the things he did that series. Like I remember like
Make
game
them
seven, he
win.
had like a yeah. I remember like game seven, he had like a
Yeah,
30 point like triple double or something like that. So
yeah.
no, I think I remember like that series had like a big impact on me, and I was like, what, like maybe one day like I can see myself like going out there and playing. So after my 2 years with not Arizona in Riverside ended up. I was like, what, I'll give it a shot. Like I wanted to keep playing. I wasn't done playing. I was like, I know I still have a lot left in the tank, so we'll see what happens. You never know. So I thought about maybe like going like G League. I know there's a lot of like
Mm.
tryouts and stuff in the States for like college players. So I was like, maybe I'll do that. But I was like, no, I wanna go back home because the year before my senior year of college, I actually came to Manila just to visit my brother and my like his family and my nieces. And he was on San Miguel at the time, so I got to like see that and go to their games. And I was like, yeah, I think this is gonna be like the place for me. This is like the fit for me. So after that, I came, and then I was like, I was asking Matt for his advice. I'm like, do you think I should just join the draft right away? Because at that time, you had to like get like these like recognition papers or like the rules were
Oh,
different at the time. Yeah, so it was kind of tough. He's like, well, you can play for Alab. Charlie D, our agent, he was the owner of Alab. So I reached out to him. He's like, you can come play for me for a year. We'll work on your papers. Then you'll join the draft. So I was like, all right, let's do it. So after he said that, I just like packed the box and a bag up, and I just flew out here, and I joined all of them.
yeah. Playing for Alab Pilipinas, like it wasn't as. I mean, like for me personally, I'd watched it more before, and then the time when like Ray Parks was there, was he your teammate
Hmm.
or was that
Yeah, I
you?
play I played with Ray for 1 year,
Yeah,
one
playing with
season.
Ray,
Yeah.
like that was the time when it was popular. But then there was a time like no one really watched ABL. I think there was a
Hmm.
time, and then there was a time before that, like when it started, like a lot of people watched it when I think Matthew Wright was there with Westport,
Hmm.
Malaysia Dragons, and yeah, playing with Ray Parks, and I think Brownlee was also in Alab, Balkman was in Alab, and then I think a lot of other Phil Ams were also there during your time. So what was that experience, and how did you feel that it got you ready for Philippine brand of basketball or Asia brand of basketball, since it's different from the US, and also for the draft, even if your draft got
Yeah.
delayed, like how did that stint
Yeah.
in Alab help
It
you?
was good, man. I ended up playing 2 seasons with Alab, and both for Coach Jimmy, Jimmy Alapong. Shout out to him. And like you said, just more than anything, it just got me ready to like just play in Asia and play in the Philippines. Like it was like a whole different brand of basketball. Like I was able to go there and learn how to be a pro too. Like that helped a lot. Like learning from like Bachman, Ray, learning from those guys. I remember Joseph Restondo, my rookie year, he was
Yeah,
there and he
yeah,
helped
yeah,
out a lot. So it was really cool. And I remember I was telling people I was on Alab, and they're like, "Oh, who's the coach?" It would just be like people just I'm talking to like around Manila, and I'm like, "Oh, Coach Jimmy Alapong." They're like, "Jimmy's your coach?" I'm like, "Yeah." I'm like, also Coach Eric Mink. Eric's your coach, like major fan. Oh, yeah. I was like, yeah. Danny Siegel, like Danny's your coach too. So I knew of them, but I didn't really know like the type of players and like the impact they had out
yeah,
here. So I was just a sponge. Like when I found out that those guys, had like the reputation they had the accolades and things like that. So I was just very, very fortunate to just learn from those guys, and them being Phil M as well. Like they were able to like tell me like the things I'm gonna experience, like the things I'm gonna have to deal with out here, and like the adjustment period of like living in the States to the Philippines. Even though I remember they were saying like, because we we lived in we practiced in BGC
oh yeah,
at Cary Sports at Shane.
yeah,
And then Jimmy's like, man, when I came out here in 2000, like this was nothing. Like it was literally just like a dirt lot. Like
yeah,
he's like, it was just like funny, like the things he would tell us, like how he would have to like go to like an internet cafe and like instant message like his family back home. Like he couldn't even like call or anything. Like it's just
yeah,
like different, like how time has changed over, the years. So more than anything, like just the lessons I learned and I took from Alab are like the biggest thing. Like the hoop was fun too. Like don't get me wrong. Like we had some pretty good teams, especially my first season there. We had a really good team. That yeah, we had a really good team. We should have won a championship. That stings to this day. But yeah, like it was just fun, man. And then being able to travel Southeast Asia and like experience like all those different countries and cultures, like right after college, like that was really cool too as well. So I was just fortunate, man. Like I was able to get on that team because, like you said, at that time, that's when like the ABL was like getting like a little bit more popular. They had
again,
just
yeah,
won that. They had just won the championship too the year before. So like the popularity was like pretty high. So it was just cool, man. Like the ABL, like I remember when it came back again, and like the draft hadn't started yet. I was like, man, I would like go like be like an Asian import in Singapore or something like that. Like I'll go play in a Hawkeye. Like it's just like going like experiencing those things. Like it's pretty cool. So maybe
yeah,
like one day when I'm like 40 or something, like my last year of playing, I'll just go play in that ABL again one more time. Just like
yeah,
send off
yeah.
an ABL.
Yeah, hopefully the ABL is still active by that time, and yeah, because it's fun to like relax, like you see them play at like night here in the Philippines, and it's
Yeah.
just fun basketball to watch when nothing's going on TV, and yeah, it's like entertaining, even if it's like not the Philippines playing. But yeah, I'm interested to know, like, since I believe that it raised your draft stock playing for Alab Pilipinas and yeah, Limitless in 3x3. I'm curious to know like how it was for you, how tough it was for you, because you mentioned earlier that the draft process was not as relaxed as it is right now during that
Hmm.
time when you applied, because you were delayed for I think 1 year, like year before you wanted to apply, you weren't eligible or whatever happened. So for you personally, how difficult was that process? Like what can you share about the process of applying for the PBA draft, and how you overcame that hurdle in your life, and how you remained like persistent that yeah, my goal is to still make it to the PBA. I'm gonna try my
Yeah.
best, do everything I can. So yeah, what was that whole like year like for you?
It was pretty tough. Like I remember like the pandemic hit 2020. I remember like January 2020. I was like, okay, I'm gonna get my papers together now, and like
Mhm.
I'm gonna join the draft after the ABL season. And then that was January 2020, and I didn't like end up doing it. But then, pandemic hit March, then everything shut down. I was like, oh crap. So I had to go home 2021. And then I remember that draft, I applied like so much, like I appealed so much to get in that draft because, I wasn't playing when I was back home. I was just like working out. I was just living at home, living off my savings and things like that. So I was just like, man, I want to play again. Like, just want to play. So I remember like I applied so much. Like I remember I wrote a letter to Commissioner Willie. Like I wrote him emails. I even wrote him like a hand note letter. I was like, please. I'm like, I swear I'm
Yeah,
Filipino.
yeah,
Like I swear. Like I'm not like trying to like do anything shady. Like I played in
yeah, yeah.
ABL things like that. And I remember the PBA told me they're like it wasn't a thing about them like saying I wasn't Filipino or like denying my heritage. It was just a rule
Mhm,
that they had, and they didn't want
mhm.
to like really change the rule. So I was like, okay, so that kind of left me a little deflated, and I was like, the PBA is just it's not going anywhere, but I'm not getting any younger either. It's been almost like 2 years and I haven't played, so I was like, it's gonna be pretty tough. And I remember like after like the last time I like had reached out to the PBA and they told me no, like I couldn't join. I was like, okay, I guess I'm just gonna be at home and I'm gonna get a job and try my best to stay in somewhat of basketball shape and keep my skills sharp. And I remember I was gonna go work for a construction company, and
Oh,
then
okay.
like yeah, like I was gonna go, like I was gonna just go work, get a job, 9 to 5. And then my agent Charlie, he messaged me. He's like, "Would you want to play 3x3 basketball?" I was like, "Hell yeah!" I was like, "I'll play anything. Like I'll play anything." He's like, "Okay, well the PBA is gonna start a new PBA 3x3 league, and we're gonna get a team together, and you're gonna play." I was like, "Okay." I was like, I just said yes. Like I remember I was just replying yes. Okay, that's good. Yes, like I was just like agreeing with like whatever you want, I'll do it. Like I just want to play again.
Yeah.
So I remember the original plan was for me, Jason Brickman, Jeremiah Gray, and somebody else. We were gonna form a team of our own
Oh, that's
for
formidable.
3x3.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were gonna make a team of our own and play together. But then like I think the PBA like made a rule to like no one Phil foreign per team. I'm like okay. So
Yeah, yeah.
all right. So I remember Brickman had signed with Morocco, and then Maya had signed with Talking Text. And then I was just like, I was the odd man out. I was like, oh, it happened again. I don't got a team again. And then
Mhm.
I remember like a week later, my agent had missed me. He's like, hey, Phoenix, they're putting a team together and they want you. So I was like, okay. So I just went to Phoenix, and I remember coming over here. I was out of shape as heck. I was just like, never played 3x3 in my life. And it was a cool experience, man. And I was able to be coached by Coach Willie Wilson, and he helped me out a lot. And I remember the first day I got to limitless practice, he's like, what do you want to do after this? I was like, I want to play in the PBA. Like, I'm gonna join the draft. He's like, okay. He's like, I'm gonna make you the number one pick. I was like,
Mhm.
all right. I was like, let's do it. I was like, he's like, we're gonna have to. I was like, we're gonna. He's like, we're gonna have to put in work though. I was like, okay. Like, I've never been one to run away from work. So that was literally the first day. I remember like the first conversation we had. He's like, I'm gonna make you the number one pick. So it just went from there, man. And I remember the adjustment period of me like learning how to play 3x3 because it's like a literally it's like a different game from like 5-on-5. It's like a completely different brand of basketball. And I remember it took us a little bit to gel together as a team. I got in shape, and then we took off, and we ended up winning the grand finals, the first conference
Yeah.
for
I remember. Yeah.
Limitless. Yeah, I remember we just ended up winning the whole thing, and then I was like, oh dang! And then we had another conference, and we played well again. I think like before like our time there together, like I don't think any team won as much as we did, like for sure. I think it was like only talking Texans, and like right after like that limitless team, like we went and played in the Sea Games, and we got bronze, and then we all just went our separate ways. And then I remember like we got on the flight back home from Vietnam, and then when we landed, I got like a message like, "Oh, you're the number one pick." And then I remember I looked at Willie. He's like, "I told you." He's like, "I told you you're gonna be the number one
Yeah,
pick."
yeah.
So it was just crazy. Like that whole like timing was just like everything because I remember I was like so deflated and like so dejected like when the pandemic hit and then I couldn't go. And then I applied for the draft, I got denied. Applied again and I got denied. And then I ended up doing 3x3 and then I ended up being the number one pick. So
Mhm.
everything just kind of just worked out and I just I just never like gave up like hope and faith in myself. Like I knew that like I belonged in the PBA and like I wanted to be there and like I was good enough. So I was just very just driven. I was like, I can't wait till I get there to finally prove, to everybody. And then when I got to the PBA, I'm like, okay, now I'm gonna actually show them like what they've been like denying this whole time. And then it just went from there, and then became the number one pick and got drafted by Blackwater.
Yeah, since you're here now and like in the NLEX and in the PBA and you're like a starting caliber player in the PBA, what's like one or thing or a couple of things that you'd want like the children or like aspiring basketball players to know and learn from like their whole journey that you shared here in the podcast? Like what do you want them to stick out? What do you want for them to stick out on your career and like that they could maybe like learn from or emulate in their own journey?
I think just a couple of things that we touched on and like we talked about, like one, like just never giving up. Like,
Mm-hmm.
if you believe in yourself, that's more than enough. Like you only need one person to believe in you, and that's just you. Like if you have a
Mm-hmm.
dream or you have a goal about, reaching a certain level in basketball or whatever, you are in or you're doing, you can do it as long as you put in the work. And then, two, just, being selfless, giving yourself to others and like making sure that like you're not like really stepping on anybody to get to where you need to be, or making sure that like you're like not being like selfish in a way to where it's going to hamper you, or make sure that you don't advance. Like if you're in a team setting or you're in a place to help somebody else, be selfless, man. Like give back and play your role. And then three, I think just have fun, man. Like I always pride myself on like I think if you watch me play, like I'm pretty intense. I'm pretty and what do they call me? They call me Yabang. Like I'm pretty I'm pretty intense, but it's all fun. At the end of the day, like it's just how I express myself out there on the court. Like it's nothing personal. It's never personal. It's never like that. But enjoy what you're doing. Have fun with it. Respect the game, of course, but just go do your thing, man. Whatever you're good at, whatever you think you can do. Go and do it. The best players are the most confident ones. The best, the highest, CEOs are the most confident ones. Like, have confidence in yourself. Do what you do what you love, and everything will work out.
Yeah, that's some great points that people would want to like learn from this episode. And yeah, thank you again, Brandon, for joining me on the pod. But before we wrap up, I ask my guests a couple of questions before they go. So yeah, to start things off, based from the what we've been talking, you watch a lot of NBA also, and like in the bubble, that's where the players were more vocal with their social and political issues. And here in the Philippines, as you know, like people are more like timid or shy when it comes to their viewpoints or opinions on these kinds of things. But in the pandemic, I think it changed a bit. Like whenever there was stuff happening in the country, it'd be more expressive on their opinions, especially during election season. As you know, like people were more vocal with their like stands on certain issues. So you, as a Filipino, would we say, as a Filipino and as an athlete, like would you say that it would be great for athletes or sports personalities to like utilize their platform and amplify their voice in order to get their followers like learn more about it or be more knowledgeable with the issues?
Yeah, of course. It's a responsibility and it's a privilege, that we get to have platforms that we have. So making sure that we're spreading things that are positive, things that
Mhm.
are not bad and things. So I always try and just make sure that whenever I'm portraying myself, that I'm portraying the best self side of myself, and always show whether it's online or in person that I stand with good. And I think it's tricky because people have freedoms and things like that, like to voice their opinions. So you can essentially say whatever you want, but you never know, what impressionable person or kid, is looking or watching you. So I think just making sure that you always in the back of your mind, you just make sure and understand that, it's a privilege and, you have to take this responsibility, serious.
Yeah, that's for sure. I mean, like that's what the athletes are trying to do. Like I'm pretty sure, like whenever they express their viewpoints, it's they're knowledgeable about it. It's not just like for the
Yeah.
cloud or just
Yeah.
to get the attention of their followers. So yeah, that's great view that you share there. So yeah, for the next question, if you had the opportunity to have dinner with five people, dead or alive, who would you invite?
Man, that's tough. Five people dead or alive. Is this just like anybody or like
Yeah,
basketball
like
or just
literally, even if
famous?
I don't know them, it's fine. Yeah.
Man, five people dead or alive. I think just all like my grandparents that I've lost, especially like the ones
Mm,
my Lola in the Philippines,
yeah.
my grandfather back home, my great grandfather, and my great grandmother,
Mm-hmm.
my dad's side. You know, I didn't. We grew up in California. My dad was from Philadelphia, and then obviously my mom was from here. So just to like maybe just have time to just pick their brains, ask about our family roots and things like that. That'd be pretty interesting and pretty cool. So I'd say just all like my grandparents that have like moved on and passed, being able to sit at a dinner with them that'd be pretty crazy. That'd be pretty cool.
That's an interesting answer. Like none of my guests
Yeah.
ever had that answer. I mean, they have like a couple of family members or one family member that passed away that they're close to. But for you, that's great. That yeah, it's like all your relatives, and yeah, it's good to for sure you'll learn something from them about not only about your family, like your family history, but stuff that happened in their generation that
Right.
we're both unaware of.
Right.
Yeah,
Right. Right.
yeah. So for the final question that I ask my guests is, that I message these athletes and sports personalities like you guys on social media and an email. So if joining this podcast, like who would you suggest could guest here at the podcast that would have a great story to tell, or would be just a fun person to talk to about sports?
Hmm.
What not necessarily basketball only, but yeah, any sport that you would suggest that you could suggest here on the pod.
Man, I don't really know. I think it'd be pretty cool. Like, have you had my brother on before? I think Matt would
No,
have had a
not
pretty
yet.
good story. Like, he had a pretty good like way of getting
Mhm.
to the PBA, and like he was like somebody. I think every team he's ever played on besides Terra Firma has won a championship. So like he's like a winner. Like if you want to like pick a winner's brain, like I
Right.
think
Like Robert
he's like
Horry type.
right.
Yeah.
He's just whatever team he goes on, they
Yeah.
win.
Yeah.
So I think that'd be pretty cool. I don't know. I think you know, I'm trying to think just like basketball wise. Um, maybe some coaches would be cool. Coach Frankie.
Mhm.
I know he has a lot. Like in practice, he talks a lot. So I think
Oh
it'd be
yeah.
pretty cool to talk to Coach Frankie. I know like he talks about his like playing days sometimes, but I don't really know like how good he was and
Same.
stuff like
I'm not
that.
that
Yeah,
familiar.
like I don't really know. I
Yeah.
remember I asked Coach Tim when I was with Gilas, and he was saying like, yeah, he was a pretty good player. So I think that'd be
Mm-hmm.
pretty cool. And then maybe like a Olympic like athlete, somebody inspiring to be in the
True.
Olympics, because
Yeah.
those people like it's different. Like they're self motivated. Like it's not really a team thing.
Mm-hmm.
And their games or events they come around like every 4 years, 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe picking their brain and seeing how they operate and stay motivated. That'd be pretty cool.
Okay. Yeah, that's great. I'll keep that in mind. And yeah, thank you again, Brandon, for joining me here on the podcast. And do you have any final message before you go?
Just I appreciate you having me, man. I know we were playing phone tag, like message tag, for a little bit while there, but I'm really glad and thankful that you had me on the show, and I can't wait to watch it back and see what things we talked about. But other than that, just I appreciate the support from everybody watching, and good luck to you and your journey as well. Maybe one day we cover me differently, but
Hopefully. Yeah.
yeah, that'd be pretty cool. But I'm just really thankful. I had a lot of fun, talking and reminiscing and
Same. Yeah.
talking about the past. So just appreciate it.
Yeah. I hopefully to see you at the games, and yeah, I'll say hi to you, and yeah, hopefully I get to
Yeah, for
cover
sure,
you
bro.
too in the PBA, and hopefully for Gilas. And yeah, before you go, is it okay if we take a picture?
Yeah, yeah, no worries.
Okay, I'll take it. One, two, three. Okay, thank you, Brandon, for joining me here on the pod. And yeah, see you soon and stay safe.
See ya. Appreciate it, bro.